to their families.
But today is Memorial Day. Generally, the soldiers don't like to talk about their losses. It hurts. This is a rare exception.
I was the truck commander when we lost our first guy. He was my gunner when our first guy from the company went down. And literally being there when his heart finally stopped beating and you've got your hands on him and you're trying to do the best that you can with him, it's something that you never forget.
What the soldiers have been through here has changed them and strengthened the bonds within the company.
These guys you become closer to in a matter of months, and you feel like you've known them all your life compared to people you've grown up with, compared to family members.
In the command center, the photographs of Viper Company's 8 fallen are constant reminders.
We have barbecues and stuff here. We're going to have a barbecue today, matter of fact, and it is kind of depressing not to see one of your friends or your guys you've been fighting with not there, knowing that he lost his life here fighting for the country.
Their Memorial Day barbecue isn't much. A quick meal, dominoes, a few soldiers have guitars. One strums the strings with the top of a soda can. But the downtime is constantly interrupted by attacks. The mortar teams scramble to drop bombs. Since they arrived in the valley, Viper Company has now fired 10,000 mortar rounds. When night falls, the soldiers hold what seems an appropriate tribute. They fire more mortars. 8 illumination rounds, chemicals that burn in the night sky. Each one is a tribute to a lost soldier. After Memorial Day, we return to Restrepo, another 2-hour hike back to the tip of the spear.
So they decided to take us on a new way up, and it's shorter, but a lot steeper. This one, in many places, you have to climb with your hands. They didn't tell us that before we left.
Back on Restrepo, we notice small improvements to the outpost. New security cameras, a new guard tower. There's more food now, too. Chili with potato chips is especially popular. To heat it up, there's even a microwave oven.
Hey, Mom, what's up?
And a telephone.
Thank you. It is my birthday. I feel so old.
But most importantly, violence is down.
I don't think we've won the war here in the Korengal, but it is definitely calmed down a little bit.
But bringing some calm to Restrepo has come at a heavy price.
Coming back to Restrepo, the first thing I noticed is all the new faces here. There's been a high turnover because this platoon has taken so many casualties. Of the original 20 soldiers we met when we were last here, only about half are still on Restrepo. The rest were either killed, injured, or got so sick they had to be evacuated.
Most of the soldiers we met on our last trip simply aren't at Restrepo anymore. Sergeant Philip Lacey was shot in the head. He's recovering back in the States. And Private Matt Fowler from Idaho is down on another base with a knee injury.
It's really rough, but ankles, knees, shot. Back, yeah, sure, we're all going to have a little bit of back problems. We're all going to have leg problems, but you just got to go back out there and do your thing.
I mean, that little outpost tears through people.
Yeah.
Fowler has a new tattoo on his fingers. One word, strength.
Seems like all the good guys we've had out here, like the best of the best guys that we've had out here are gone.
Specialist Dustin Duvall is one of the only original soldiers still on Restrepo. At times, Duvall says he feels like the last man standing.
It was hell. Every day, firefight. You wake up to it, you go to sleep to it. And you were exhausted, just wore down.
How many firefights you been in?
More than I can count. I don't have an actual number. I mean, we started counting at the beginning, and then it just got ridiculous, and we just gave up counting.
All that violence is changing Duvall's priorities. He got married on leave on Valentine's Day to his high school sweetheart. Specialist Jordan Taylor has changed too. He's become more spiritual after so many firefights.
My guardian angel, his shield has some bullet holes in it for sure. So, I mean, I don't feel lucky. I feel protected.
You gain a greater appreciation for life.
Yes, a lot.
And Zach Boyd has become the most famous soldier on Restrepo. He was on the front page of the New York Times when he jumped out of bed and into a firefight wearing pink I Love New York boxers. At first, he was worried because he was out of uniform. His mother told him President Obama reads the New York Times.
And I was like, oh, you know, great, the president's going to see it. I'm definitely busted now.
Instead, Defense Secretary Robert Gates praised him.
Any soldier who goes into battle against the Taliban in pink boxers and flip-flops has a special kind of courage.
And Boyd has 2 fan pages online.
So these are the ones?
These are the ones.
The Army wants to put the I Love New York boxers in a museum.
I actually brought a little present for you. So if you're going to give those up, I want to give you another present. They're not pink.
No, that's okay.
But even for Boyd, war isn't macho anymore.
I used to enjoy the firefights, you know, it's kind of adrenaline rush type thing. But now, after 11 months of being here, you're just kind of ready to get home and relax a little bit.
But Viper Company still has 2 weeks to go before heading home. 2 more weeks to survive the Korengal. With just 2 weeks before Viper Company heads home, up on Restrepo, the men are preparing the outpost for their replacements, building new housing for the next guys, and building beach bodies so they can impress girls when they get home. They're getting cleaned up, too, with new haircuts. The soldiers here all have big plans for homecoming. Captain Jimmy Howell has pictures of his family all over his room. He's stayed in close contact since he left.
I like this one of my wife and 2 little girls from Christmas time. I guess that's definitely my favorite.
How have you managed to do it? You've been on 5 deployments now. That's a lot, and that's trying in anyone's relationship.
Well, I'm enormously lucky. My wife is extremely supportive.
But the men are worried, too. They've changed, been through hell. How will it be when they go back? Taylor says many soldiers have trouble controlling their tempers. They overreact to loud noises and can't sleep.
I don't think any of our guys are going to go home and go psycho or anything like that. I mean, yeah, I'm sure we're all going to pop up in a cold sweat at one point or another, but I think they'll be fine. We'll all be fine when we go home.
To make sure, before leaving Afghanistan, the troops go to an airbase in Jalalabad for physical and psychological exams.
Hey, come on in. Hey, that's all. Go grab a seat.
Many complain of sore backs, lost hearing, and headaches.
1 minute I'll be fine, and the next minute it hits me like a freight train.
20% of returning veterans suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder or major depression. Often soldiers say they find it difficult when they go home.
Once you get back, you realize you are just another person on the street again, and nobody around you knew exactly what you went through.
But on July 2nd, 2009, in a gym at Fort Hood, Texas, there's excitement. The families, flags, balloons, and posters are all out. A hero's welcome for the men of Viper Company. Kisses and hugs, fathers and daughters reunited. For Captain Howell, it's a picture-perfect homecoming to his wife Stephanie and daughters Sadie and Harper.
All these months of praying and hoping and thinking about him and missing him with all my heart, and it was overwhelming.
But the celebrations don't last long.
Finish is right here.
Just a few days later, the soldiers are back in training, swimming, biking, and running in the morning.
40 minutes, 30 seconds. Good job.
And in the afternoon, seminars on suicide prevention.
So if you suspect that something's going on with him, maybe he's depressed, maybe he's thinking about hurting himself.
Because not everyone is having an easy time back in Texas. 23-year-old Ryan Schreiner returned to marital problems and credit card debt. He's getting a divorce.
In the Korengal, it's war. You know, that's the only thing that I told myself to be able to cope with. But coming back home to all your dreams and all what you wanted to be gone is possibly the most crushing thing a soldier can go through. Because it's what kept you alive.
Schreiner was just in a bar fight and says alcohol is another problem now that soldiers are off the adrenaline rush of daily battles.
Every single guy coming back, all they want to do is just drink. You know, I don't know if they're self-medicating or what, but all they want to do is drink because there's really nothing else to do.
Captain Howell says only 5 or 6 soldiers from the unit are having trouble, and they're working through it together.
They still have their friends and their buddies, guys they lived and fought with, they did turn to for help.
But the time in the Korengal may have forever changed the men of Viper Company, their families, and even their communities. In September 2009, a few hundred motorcycle riders gather for a memorial for Sergeant John Penich, almost a year after he was killed.
Johnny, all right.
John loved the big bikes. His favorite is left empty, his uniform on the seat and boots on the floorboards. The ride is led by John's brother, Jeff. As they caravan to the gravesite. The mourners surround it with American flags. Sergeant Thomas Richardson made the trip here. He's recovering in a wheelchair from a motorcycle accident. Richardson was with Penich up on Restrepo. He's visited the graves of 3 U.S. soldiers since he returned and is starting to have doubts about the war he fought in.
There's parts of me that is like, it's not worth it. It's not worth, the time you spend over there and the things you do to, lose, like a friend or something like that, or even your own life.
John's mother, Kathy, is lost without her son. She visits his grave almost every day to water the flowers and think.
I know John's in heaven. I have no doubt in that.
She showed me the spot where she'll be buried, next to John.
It still hits me. Like, sometimes I'll think, he's still going to come home.
Kathy, who helped organize the memorial, still doesn't blame anyone for killing her son by mistake. She adamantly supports the troops, but her views on the war have changed. She sees too many other mothers losing their children in Afghanistan.
They're getting killed and having no purpose for it, it feels like. Like, there's just nothing to gain from it. I hope I'm wrong.
After Viper Company left the Korengal Valley, they were replaced by soldiers from the Army's 4th Infantry Division. The new troops lost their first soldier just 2 weeks after they arrived.